let me know if you can see my deck.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Cool. So shall we get going?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Awesome. You can see and hear me fine, right?
Yes, all good.
Cool. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you are. Welcome to this session on Consulting 101s for building Power Platform-based apps. Really excited to present at this Global Power Platform Bootcamp, Pakistan edition. I think we have an amazing lineup of speakers today, later today, and really seeing this community coming together for sharing, learning. It's simply remarkable at some odd times for many of us. So some housekeeping items. We are scheduled to run for almost less than a half hour. I'll not take much of your time. Once I finish my presentation, I'll be more than glad to answer any questions from your side. So let's quickly look at what we do plan to cover today. Firstly, we will cover the why question. Why should we even bother to go back to the consulting basics and align our ducks there when it comes to Power Platform? We'll also do a quick inventory of Power Platform and different products it has and what they entail when it comes to consulting practices. And then in Consulting 101, we'll cover some best practices on requirements, requirement gathering, doing proof of concept, prototyping, and in general, some other tips to finish your Power Platform projects like a star. So before we move on to my presentation, my quick introduction. My name is Asim Afridi. For those who don't know, I'm working as a solution architect with a consulting practice here in the US. I'm originally from Karachi, Pakistan. This is Pakistan edition, where I got my engineering degree. I've been working with Dynamics 365 line of business applications for quite a while now, and especially focusing on finance and supply chain. So on the right-hand side on the deck, you can see some representative images of some cities I called home in the past, including Karachi at the top. And feel free to connect with me on the LinkedIn. You can see the link here. I'll be more than glad to help or answer any questions you may have. Lastly, on the bottom, you can see some things I like to spend some time with. I really like to read whenever I get time. I love to hike and go on trails, walking. Lastly, I like to watch cricket. And don't be mistaken by my last name for those who know cricket. I'm no good when it comes to playing cricket. Though I do like to be a spectator. I really admire Kane Williamson. You can see his picture down there. So I think his elegant batting style is really something to watch for. So when it comes to educating consulting 101s, especially in the context of Power Platform, the immediate question that arises, isn't that Canvas Power App that I'm building quickly for my client supposed to be a quick recipe, or why we even bother about consulting best practices for a platform which is meant to develop low or no code, generally small or quick apps? Well, it's true that some of the apps that we get to develop using Power Platform are simpler, can be built in quick turnaround time, and also with not much complexities involved. However, in my thinking, getting back to the basics of aligning and understanding best practices for client interactions, such as gathering requirements, doing proof of concept sessions, prototyping sessions, getting clients to test these apps and fix issues iteratively, and finally deploying these apps is really important at the end of the day. And all these are consulting engagements that you are doing. And no matter what where you are working, whether you are working as an independent consultant or with a large solution provider. Lastly, there are many moving parts when it comes to Power Platform and developing apps using that. You need to gather business requirements around user stories. In case of Power BI, for instance, Power BI-based apps or dashboards, you need to collect information about the data sources if it involves multiple data sources. Security integrations can get pretty complicated in case you're using Power Apps and Power Automate to integrate some data from or from third-party apps. So that's why it's important to get back to the basics of consulting. So I know I don't need to go through this slide here. Most of you in the audience can better dissect this architecture than me. But just to build some context here, the guiding vision behind the Microsoft platform and Microsoft Power Platform being AAA loop, analyze, act, and automate. The Microsoft platform, Power Platform implements this vision via 4 cloud-based services: Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, as well as Power Virtual Agent. Power BI service is a secure BI service that lets users view dashboards, reports, Power BI-based apps. Power Apps is our low-code, no-code application development platform, allowing anyone to build web and mobile applications without needing to write much code. Power Automate is the service that helps you create automated workflows between various apps and services to synchronize files, get notifications, alerts, collect data, and so on. Lastly, with Power Virtual Agent service, you can create powerful chatbots that can answer queries asked by your customers, your employees, even visitors to your websites or web stores. So as we move forward, let me tell you, keeping this AAA loop, analyze, act, automate in mind while getting the context of what best practices you need to incorporate in consulting will really help you, because that will give you the perspective why we are building a particular app or a part of app. So let's get to our first part of Consulting 101 discussions on Power Platform, understanding the requirements. So when I'm interacting with the client regarding building possibly app which will solve some business problems, where do we start? We'll start with the problem that you are trying to solve. Focus on the problem to start with. Ask your client what specific problem or set of problem are they expecting to solve using this Power App or Power Platform application. Also ask them why do they think that a specific problem will be solved by this specific Power App or this application. The later question is really important, and let me tell you, you will unveil really good details on the requirements for the Power Platform app you are building by asking these questions. Also focus on the business value of the Power Platform app that'll be bringing to the table. Is it about enhancing productivity? Is it really related to making a particular business process more efficient in terms of time, for instance? Or is it simply about scalability issues that a business is trying to resolve? So try to get some good details on the business value being attached to the Power Platform application being built or being discussed. It will help you build that application better. Identify what user roles will be using what parts of this application, such as will be the back office managers be using this application, or is it simply field service technicians who will be using this particular Power App on a mobile device, so on. Try and ask some specific details such as CRUD, what CRUD operations are involved, what CRUD operations are expected, and how, and also get some gauge on what volumes of records are we looking at. So, well, if you are interacting with clients, especially while gathering requirements for Power Platform, low or no code custom built app, wishlist form clients is great. I mean, usually in the case of these custom built apps, there are tons of wish lists. But you know what is more amazing? Even more amazing thing is user stories. So using user stories, try to get details on that for particular user A who's wanting functionality X, Y, and Z, so that he or she can get benefits C, D, and E. Try to get these sort of details in the form of user stories that you are seeing on the deck. Also try to gather details on when a particular action is taken on the app, what outcomes are expected by users. It will give you perspective to gather more details and more cleaner details on the requirements. User journeys is another way to look at the requirements. So user journey is really the flow user goes through while the users are using your application. It is valuable to have discussions framed around user journeys. What are the most important goals for a particular user in a specific scenario? Try to map how will the user be achieving these goals in your app. Try to investigate that and probe that a little. Often it helps to design the ideal user journey or happy path for building apps. And what user journeys do is that it helps us as functional or technical consultants, or even as citizen developers, to think in terms of the process instead of standalone screens or forms that we are designing the application on the application. So building Power Platform apps, no matter you're building some Power App, a Power Automate flow as part of some application, or some Power Virtual Agent bot, it's very similar to building Lego. You already have the building blocks, you already have the connectors, yet you need to connect those all those building blocks to build a solution. But an important point here is still not to miss the requirement piece. What you need to build, what does it need to look like, and so on. You need to investigate the requirements. And you need to check how do your users want to use this particular application, and hence what sort of forms do you need. Does this app get used on a Surface, laptop, mobile device such as a tablet, and so on. What fields on those forms you need, what labeling you will need, what error and success notifications and you'll need to present on actions. Well, just a little bit of fun. Look at this slide and I'll let you decide letters or no letters in a few seconds. I'll not do the voting probably, but I'll let you watch this. So, well, I think the question is wrong, right? It is not a question of letters or no letters. The probable right question is, who said that we are ready to move to the next stage? I mean, find that person. So on a serious note, the right question is, why did that person even think that they are, or the team is ready to move to the implementation? So yes, validating what you are about to build is absolutely important before you jump the guns. So this snapshot is from the most used website in the Microsoft fraternity, Microsoft Docs, or Learn as we call it. I think these two are different, but it is from the Learning Track, Architecting Solutions for Power Platform. And I really love this particular snippet and sharing with you guys, depict how important it is to confirm requirements for Power Platform-based apps. Yes, even with Power Platform-based apps, it's essential to confirm the requirements, validate the requirements, and validate the requirements in terms of whether the requirements that you got were complete. Are they valid with the users? For example, who needs X, Y, and Z features and why? Why do they need those features? Probing those details. So if you ask me what is the best way to confirm requirements, well, I'm still an old school guy, so I would say document them. And I know for some really simple Power Platform-based apps, it may sound like an overkill to document all these requirements. But in my experience, for most apps that we build, it may be a good idea to document requirements properly, like we do the other requirements and other line of business application requirements, and confirm from your users that these are the requirements that I have grabbed. Does it make sense? There are other means to confirm requirements, such as rapid prototyping, quickly wireframing, to confirm how and what you understood as the requirements. And you can show those sketchier or half-baked wireframes to the users to discuss and confirm that you are on the same page with them when it comes to application design. So once requirements are confirmed, you built the initial prototype or proof of concept or MVP, minimal viable product, using your Power Platform application or product. Now go and do that interactive feedback session with users. Arrange sessions with them. Arrange sessions with the end users to do the app reviews, run through different scenarios, perform various user actions. You can present your initial prototype and you can get really useful feedback, amazing constructive feedback, which will really improve the app application, its usability, its look and feel, and pretty much all the aspects, its functionality as well, possibly. So based on the requirement, you build the prototype. That happened, and now it's the time for concept training. You using these proof of concepts, you can do the concept training on the application. Users can get familiar with the application. You can get some real valuable feedback, optimize the area which need improvement or you need to do some tweaks on. And so all in all, proof of concept, prototyping, or MVP, whatever you want to call it, is really valuable when it comes to Power Platform-based low or no-code apps. So this idea of doing prototyping or proof of concept for your user for Power applications is very closer to agile methodologies idea of planning, collaborating, building, iterating quickly based on the feedback that you get, and finally delivering your application for solving the business problem as it intended to do so finally. So in the remaining time of the session, I will be trying to cover some quick insights on Consulting 101 so that anyone watching could learn and benefit. And you don't need to be a consultant necessarily to practice these insights or get benefit from it. These apply for everyone: functional consultants, Power Platform consultants, Dynamics 365, technical developer consultants, solution architects, and even project and program managers. So the first insight I want to share is know your audience in each and every consulting engagement. It is extremely important to know your audience. Whom are you talking to in a particular setting? Who is this stakeholder in front of you in a particular workshop? What's their role? What are their aspirations? We need to connect with client stakeholders, and it's always good not to use too many technical jargons as well in these workshops or client engagements in front of any type of stakeholders, even the technical ones. Nobody like jargons, believe me. On the business perspective, it is important to know their industry, key business drivers for them or their business. Do a little bit of research, regardless of what your role is. It will benefit you having that engagement in a more engaged way. It's also useful to remember smaller things such as various roles we work with. We need to be respectful of their workload. Some people, especially the SMEs, can be pretty busy. We need to be respectful of our and their schedule. You really need not to. I don't need to repeat that, but really not need to engage in the organizational politics that generally goes on in different organizations. One small tip which I want to share here is about the communication. Always validate what you understand. If you're told in a requirement workshop and you're not fully clear what it was, don't assume, rephrase or repeat what you understood to be your understanding. This keeps communication flowing really smoothly in consulting engagements to validate your understanding. It's also vital to tailor your communication style based on who your audience is, what's their role, what their knowledge level, the skill set is. These smaller yet smaller important basics, these are really basics, but they really help us doing engaged and smooth client interactions and hence develop good relationships with our clients. So, well, firstly, before I talk on the slide, we need to know the primary job of any role in consulting is to deliver expertise. That's what we are supposed to do. That's what we are paid for. So first point which I want to make here is to keep your product knowledge up to date with frequent and constant updates in Power Platform as well as the bigger Dynamics 365 platform and various line of business applications. It's extremely important to keep our product knowledge at par, up to date. I know it's a challenging task that we have to do, but we got to do it. And with our learning hat always on, we can always do it. Secondly, always keep on nurturing your business knowledge. It always pays off in consulting. if you have good business knowledge, generally about industries, processes. On this note, I will also invite you guys to share your knowledge with your peers, your colleagues. Doesn't matter you're a functional consultant, you're a technical consultant, you intend to build some expertise in a particular technical area. Keep on sharing your knowledge, like Lynn did in the previous session. This will not only increase, the knowledge of the people whom you are sharing that particular knowledge set, but believe me, through this it will benefit you as well, because it will validate your knowledge as well. And last point on the expertise is to be confident. Have confidence on your own self, regardless of your role. Every role does need to have some consulting engagements. Nobody knows everything in every domain. Nobody does. Doing your consulting engagements, it's extremely important to keep your repertoire as a skilled, knowledgeable, yet a confident consultant. Knowing the project scope, it's really important in any consulting engagement. And again, this is back to the basics, knowing what timelines, budgets, as well as the business process boundaries you have. This will really help you to stay focused on solving the problem at hand, and yet not causing any scope creeps for your project managers or leaders. If you're unsure of scope, please validate your understanding with your project owners, project leaders, project managers, especially in the context of Power Platform-based apps. It's really easy to slip down that slippery floor of scope, because you're generally building integrations, some custom application. There can be some ad hoc requests as well. So always stay on focus and stay focused on scope. When it comes to scope, validate your understanding with your project leaders. So what does the quality work mean to you? Well, the exact definition of quality may change in different contexts. But in general, in consulting, doing work with minimal iterations, that's quality. Being detail-oriented, keeping yourself and your focus as being objective rather than losing focus. Doing exhaustive testing on your apps. If you exhaustively test your apps, that's quality. You know where it works, and you know where it doesn't work and why it doesn't work. That's quality. So great teams and teamwork can achieve even impossible. I firmly believe in this notion. In consulting, teamwork is really critical for success of project. Have good disagreements, as they say. Let's agree to disagree, but stay focused on achieving what's best for the team. Actually, good disagreements are critically important for any team success. And if no one disagrees in your team, there's probably a bigger problem in your team. And be part of a cohesive, well-connected team, then simply a work group. Help others, ask others good questions, contribute to your team members' success, build a community around you. Lastly, be proactive in conflict resolution if you find one. Always reach out to your senior team members, or even project sponsors or leaders, or whomever you think can resolve those conflicts. It's really important to resolve conflicts as soon as possible. Client interactions, and to end the presentation around the end, I want to share some do nots when it comes to client interactions. And again, these are basics, but it's good to reiterate. Firstly, never be obsessive about being right in any client engagement. It can get tricky. When you're in the middle of a workshop session and you're discussing something fervently. As consultants, we need to tame our ego. It's very important to build pleasant customer relationships in any role when it comes to consulting. Also, never ever back customer into a position they can't get out of or from. One example is educating some suboptimal solution which they like. So educate what's best for them and their business. So yeah. And last one is never ever assume customer is informed of your progress. Wherever appropriate, keep your customers informed appropriately about design decisions that may impact them, your progress, the next steps in the project phase, and so on. Keep in touch with your clients. To end my presentation, I wanted to share some snippets of insights on consulting in hard times. And I know you must be thinking, I mean, do we really need to do something special in while consulting in hard times or such as these days? Well, yes, I think, and there's a lot of literature about it. So we as consultants are perceived as problem solvers. We need to be mindful of our image, especially in turbulent times such as these. Some tips for consulting practices in these times. Well, firstly, stay motivated, learn, stay healthy, stay active, whatever keeps you motivated. Also try and keep your coworkers cheered up, motivated as much as you can. Lastly, in consulting, our customers also become sort of our coworkers, especially when we work with them for quite some time, right? And a lot of engagements. Be flexible with them, be respectful of your commitments with them. And the same principle applies to them as well. Try and lighten up your interactions with good humor, sensible humor. Remember that a smile is extremely powerful thing. It can actually trick your brain to function well in any situation. And I know consulting is full of stressful situations. So this really is the end of my brief presentation. I would like to thank you for attending this session. I would also like to thank again all the organizers of this Global Power Platform Bootcamp 2021 Pakistan edition. Wish you a very bright day. If you have any questions relating to any of the topics I covered, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Yeah, some great session. There is one question in the chat, if you can reply to that.
Sure.
Do you want me to read it? Okay.
Oh yeah, so that's a good question. So can we connect Power Platform to Jira for requirement gathering? I haven't done it myself, honestly, but I think with 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 the available connectors, it may be possible. So I may need to honestly, confirm this and get back to you on this. Also, which tool, which I need, I recommend for requirement gathering. I have explored different tools. I have used tools as simple as Excel sheets and templates for gathering requirements to as complicated as third-party tools for requirement gathering. And there are a number of like big companies with a number of offerings in the requirement gathering. DevOps is a good starting point when it comes to Microsoft platform. Jira, I'm pretty used to with Jira, using Jira, DevOps, tools like this. If you're new to requirement gathering, you can get started with these. But again, there are a number of third-party tools which can be helpful. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or feel free to post questions later on with me. I can provide you some exhaustive list of some tools which can be handy in the gathering. But if you're starting up, get used to with DevOps, get used to with Jira. These are good tools together. Document requirements, document and do the issue tracking.
Perfect. Thank you, Asim. Just considering the time constraints here. Thank you so much, Asim. As always, it's a pleasure.